This is my first hand-bound watercolor journal. It dates back from a few months ago, and this is using the Coptic stitch binding, and I like it enough. It's nice to have a journal. I prefer that. I like to keep my watercolors in one handy place, and I like to flip through a journal. The downside of this is that when a journal is bound like this, well, there's always a bad side to the paper, so you kind of, you know, as you flip through, you can end up with two bad sides back to back, and that bothers me. There's also the fact that these pages are stuck in there, and if I want to, let's say if someone's interested in one of my paintings, I can't really pull them out of here. So recently I was talking about a different kind of binding system which uses these types of discs. Now this one has a little heart going through it. It's cute and all, but usually they're kind of like flat. And for this kind of system, you need the special punch for this. So here is the Lavender leverage punch, which works for a disc binding system. And I was fortunate enough to receive this as a gift, so I'm very grateful. And this one here in particular, it's super hefty and it goes through a lot of papers or thicker paper, which is one of the characteristics that I was looking for when I was looking for a punch for this kind of binding system. Now, before I go ahead and bind my book, I need to cut these papers to size, and I only have this much left, so I need more. And to save money, what I usually do is buy my watercolor papers in larger sheets. This one came in a pad. It's 30 sheets of 18 inches by 24 inches, and I got this on sale. It was 60% off, I believe, at Michael's last year, actually. And so I'm going to show you first how I cut my paper. Okay, so because I know that my paper measures 24 inches across by 18 tall, I'm going to take my T-ruler and place it flush against the right side right here. This is the glue line, so I'd rather have it against that straight edge right there. Make sure that it's flush against this. And I'm going to find the center mark this way, which is 12 inches because this measures 24. So I'm just going to put a little tick mark here. Then I'm going to flip my ruler around and make it stop at the edge on top here. Find my mark, which is right here. So once I know that it's very flush, I'm going to trace a line. And before I remove my ruler, I'm going to find the center this way. So this measures 18 inches, so halfway point is 9. I'm going to put another tick mark over there. I'm going to place my ruler again against this side, find my mark, make sure that it's flush against that edge, and trace another line. I have a self-healing cutting mat, which is quite old. I know it's bright pink, but it's also magnetic, and it comes with a magnetic ruler. This is from We Are Memory Keepers. I'm sure they still make something equivalent, probably in a different color. I'm going to place it right underneath the vertical line, because that's the only cut by hand that I'm going to do. I'm going to place that magnetic ruler right on top, and I'm going to use a craft knife and just run that along that ruler. Now, of course, it does help if you have a sharp hobby blade. You can use a regular ruler and a pair of scissors, of course, but it does cut down on time when you're using something like this. So now I'm going to detach that portion as well. I'm sure that some of you are probably thinking, why can't you just cut like several sheets at a time instead of putting a cutting mat underneath? Just put the ruler and just like slice away. Well, the reason is I'd rather have full sheets still in my inventory just in case I need them. I never know how many pages I'm going to cut ahead of time. I do cut like several, but I don't want to lose the availability of that big sheet. And also I've noticed that if you cut several pages at a time, because I have tried it, it kind of cuts little slivers you know, from the bottom ones, and it just becomes annoying, and I don't know, I just like to do it one sheet at a time. It's not such a big deal after all. Now I have to cut these two in half again. I have a paper trimmer, and again you can use scissors, but this one cuts 12 inches in length, so sheets of 12 inches long. So I'm just going to place my paper right here. I have that mark or that line that I traced, so I'm going to put that in the gutter, or the cutting gutter, and just cut. So now I have 4 sheets of 12 by 9, which is actually a watercolor paper standard size. If you buy your watercolor papers in pads, you know that 9 by 12 is a regular format. However, it's not a standard size for framing, which bothers me. They should get their act together, really. People, talk to each other, companies, do something. So if you want to frame a 9 by 12, you kind of have to frame it, you kind of have to order like a custom framing job, which is unfortunate. But anyways, so my paper, the papers that I use for my journals are actually 6 by 9. So I'm going to take each of these 4 pieces again and cut them on the long edge at the 6-inch mark. There you go. So now I have 8 pieces that measure 6 by 9, and those 8 pieces come from a full sheet. So I have several sheets to cut now. I'm going to do that, and then we'll get to binding. All right, time to bind. Okay, so I have carefully read the instructions, that little pamphlet that comes with the punch, and of course this is in the lock position, so all I have to do is press down here, and there's a red lever right there, or a red switch. I just have to push it down and then it opens. There's also here a guide to choose the size of paper that you want, and either I'm really dumb or I didn't catch what they were saying, but essentially if you have a punch like this and you're stuck, don't ever put your fingers around here or here. But there's a paper guide here. You have to push and then play with this little kind of like pull, and you can choose the size of paper. The size of paper will appear here, right here, and then once you get it to the right size of your paper that you're going to punch, you just release and it will lock into place. This is for the, they call those chads. It's for that's where the little remnants or the punched pieces will fall into, and you just have to empty that once in a while. And that's basically it. So first of all, I want to test out the watercolor paper, and this is a piece that I cut wrong, so I'm going to use this. Now of course I have to play with the dimension here because I want to bind my book on the short edge. So I'm just going to first see how well it punches through watercolor paper like butter. Seriously, I didn't have to put a lot of effort into this, and essentially you would insert the pages right in here. All right, so that's how that works. So it seems that I was able to go up to 11 regular copy paper and not 15, but regardless, I mean, it still punches quite a lot of paper at a time. Of course, watercolor paper, I would just do like 2 at a time. I want to test it out also on some cardboard that I have here. This is not book binding board, it's not that thick. So I'm going to try this. I'm not sure I'm all the way to the edge. Yeah, it looks like the guide at the letter size will work in my favor, because that's not bad. I mean, this side is a little bit smaller than that side, but I mean, honestly, it's not a big deal. So let me just do one here. I'm still doubting whether I'm all the way out or in, I would say. Yeah, that works, right? It's not bad. Awesome. Let's try 2 pieces at one time. Ooh, we're getting dangerous here. Or adventurous. All right. Yep, still good. That's so awesome. Wow. I'm very happy. 3 might be pushing it, I think, but I'm still going to try. Yeah, no, I don't want to do 3. I'm going to do 2 at a time. Wow. Well, that took no time at all. So I'm going to lock this and empty that thing here. This is kind of like a release door. The pieces are stuck inside here. So you just have to kind of like shake the punch to get all of these things out. And there you go. Oh, look at that. Wow. You're probably not going to see my hand through this, but I can tell. Look at this. This is like all straight and stuff. Whew, I like that. To finish off my book, I covered 2 very thin cardboard. I guess it's cardstock with patterned paper. And I thought that this patterned paper would be awesome with my rose gold discs. So I'm just going to punch those out. I've cut them the same size as my papers, of course. Oh, I should have done one upside. Oh, it's okay. There we go. So this is going to be the back side, the front side. I also sanded the edges down because there's nothing that bothers me most than having some curled up paper. So there we go. So this is ready to be bound. Oh no. Yeah. I messed this one up. The back cover I should have punched upside down because, yeah, because one side is kind of like an offset. They're not equal. I don't have that paper anymore. I wonder if it's going to make a huge difference if I redo this the right way. Let's see. I just don't want the back cover to wiggle, and it's probably... Oh no, I think I'll be okay. Oh, that was very lucky. All right, so let's start this. I'll make sure that all of my hearts are properly facing the right way. That's pretty cool. I'm guessing the first few pages are a little bit awkward because the discs tend to wobble a bit. Ta-da! Oh, it's so pretty! Oh my, my! Look at that! Oh, I love it! The back cover is, like I said, a little bit offset because of my mistake, but it looks like it's gonna hold. Now I went online and I looked up the the Me and My Big Ideas ring. People are saying that the outside, like this, the rim of the discs are slightly larger than the regular ones. Because I know Levenger sells beautiful rings, I mean, or discs. Some of them are like absolutely gorgeous, like mother of pearl and all that stuff. But even the regular ones that you can buy, you can find online at Amazon or whatever, the rim is slightly rounder and maybe a tad smaller, so there's less damage to your paper. And I know that Me and My Big Ideas sell their own punch, but the great thing about having that punch that I have is that it fits all the rings, like pretty much all the manufacturers. So I'm happy with this. The reason why I chose a top binding as opposed to a side binding is because if I want to use this this journal and just paint without having to remove the page, then I don't have that ring on the right side or the left side to deal with. I think it's better suited for my needs. And if I do want to, let's say I know I'm going to use a lot of water on that page, I can just remove it gently, I guess, and tape it to a board, work on it, and when the painting is finished, I can just pop it back into place. The pages measure 6 by 9, and that's because I was lazy and I just cut everything in half. I didn't want to waste paper right off the bat. But for framing wise, I know that there are standard sizes, and the one that would probably fit this page is a 5 by 7 opening. So what I would do when I do my painting is probably bring it down lower, and then allow for maybe like a 1/4 of an inch, so maybe, or even like work in a 5.5 by 7.5 area. So if I tape this to a board, then I will tape my work accordingly, and that's that. So that way, if I want to frame any of my paintings, then I won't have to pay for custom framing, which is very expensive. We all know that. I'm so happy with this. Oh my goodness. So now I have 2 beautiful books. This one's full. This one is going to get full pretty soon. I want to thank you, my awesome angel. You know who you are. And no, it's nobody from Levenger, so this video was not sponsored. I'm not trying to push the punch on you either. It's pretty expensive, but I know that I've talked about this binding system in previous videos, and some of you were interested, so there you go. So now you saw the full process of doing that. So if you're lucky enough to get that punch and you want to take advantage of specials on large watercolor papers, then I think this can work to your advantage. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. I'm very excited to start painting in this. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them below. Also, I want to say a huge thank you to my awesome patrons for supporting my art over at Patreon. Have a super fun and creative day, and I will see you tomorrow.